So we're gonna try and pull it out a little bit. It hasn't moved this spot in 30 years, so we'll see. It's coming. Well, 35 years, I believe is what he said. Man, there's so much traffic. It's a lot of traffic coming over this hill. They're coming too. I should have unhooked the trailer and hooked to it, but a little bit too late. Well, welcome back with the Boogie Van, and this is a 79 Chevy G20 van I picked up 2.5 years ago from behind a shop. It's actually a Volkswagen repair shop. He had a lot of other cars. Also, a friend of mine picked up that Nissan Datsun, I think it was a 520 pickup truck. So anyway, we got this thing 2.5 years ago. It had set up, and the guy uncle owned this van, and he died and passed away, and it set up beside a house that was at the shop, which was his uncle's house, and it just sat there and sat there. A car caught on fire next to it, and if you go back and look at the video, I put a link up there up top. You go back and look at those videos. I think it's like 6-part series. The driver's side was completely burned. So this door was burned. It had a big burn mark right here, and this fender was burned. Well, I ended up replacing the door, and replaced the mirror. The engine was locked up. I freed the engine up, got it going, did a lot of other cleanup stuff to it. Now this van used to have 70s designs. It had like pinstripes and scallops on both sides and all around. Well, the guy I traded to, a friend of mine, I traded to him. He put it in the paint shop, and it was actually going to have those designs put back on it. And what happened was the guy messed around for about 18 months, was about to get kicked out of the shop, so he painted it and didn't get a chance to put the designs back on it, which sucks. So so now it's just a solid blue color. But it looks good. It still needs to be buffed out and waxed, but I got some things to do to it. First off, we're going to change the wheels. The new owner picked up a set of Western turbine wheels. They're in good shape. You know, they're that aluminum color, so they need to be cleaned up and painted. Got new raised white leather tires on. I got to replace the rear gas tank. When I had it, when I got it running, it's got 2 gas tanks on it. It's got one up under the side, on the passenger side. There's a square auxiliary tank, and then it's got the regular gas tank behind the axle. it's been running off that side tank ever since I've had it. So he bought a brand new tank, brand new center unit. So I got to put the brand new tank center unit on it, put the new wheels and tires on it. I got to put new shocks all the way around. The power steering pump is pouring power steering fluid out. I got to replace the power steering. I think he's got the emblems that go on the side that says G20, because I think the guy that he broke them. Well, I know this side was completely melted off, so I think he bought a new set. Maybe he broke the other one. Got to put that on. Got some marker light covers for it. The sliding door, we'll go around there. The sliding door, the guy at the shop, he couldn't get the sliding door seal back on. So he said it was the wrong seal, but it was the right seal because I bought the seal kit, and so I don't know what kind of issues he was having, but we're gonna fix it. But yeah, she looks pretty good though. She looks pretty good. It's just a solid dark blue color. Actually, the guy who painted it. Alright, so I got the front wheel off. When I got it off, I'm gonna go ahead and change the shocks. These are Monroe Matic Plus gas charge absorbers. So those are probably the original shocks that's on this thing. But I'm gonna go ahead and change the fronts, and then I'll go back to the back. I got one of the back wheels on. These things, they still need some cleaning up. They're kind of pitted, but I mean, for what they are, you can't find a real good set anymore. I mean, they're all bought up, or they've been scrapped, or you know, you'll probably find like 2 here and 2 there. But I'm gonna roll it outside, kind of clean them off a little bit, get the blue off of the raised white letter tires. But like I say, before I put the front wheel on, I'm gonna go ahead and put the new shock on while I'm there, and that'll be done on both sides. And then I'll go back. While I'm doing the gas tank, I'm gonna go ahead and do the back shocks. I think these are 3307 6s, 33076 large bolt. And I guess these are the rears, 33086 large bore. Did that say large bore? Yeah, large bore. So those are the back, and the shorty ones are the front. So I'm gonna go ahead, get done with this, and get all 4 wheels on. I'm gonna try and roll it outside, clean them up a little bit, get a little better perspective on how they're gonna look, and we'll move on to something else on it. Alright, so finally got all 4 Western wheels on with the center caps. The center caps are not in that best of shape. They're kind of pitted, and they're made out of plastic, and they are real loose. I mean, they're gonna pop off. I found them some on eBay. A guy's got a whole set that's new old stock. I think he wants $159 for them. So I'm gonna see if he wants to order those. I mean, the wheels, they're in okay shape. The aluminum's kind of discolored, and they need to be really scrubbed down and clean. But looks pretty good. They're not the 8-inch Western wheels. They're the 15x7s. So they don't really give it that wide tire look like they did back in the 70s, but it still looks good though. It looks better than the stock Skillies. But all this rain we got that came in, it is pouring down outside. All this rain, get out of here. I'm gonna get it outside, spray some aluminum wheel cleaner on these wheels, and get the blue paint off of the raised white letters. But also went to the junkyard today and found a piece that was missing that got stolen off of it, and that is a horn button. Now this is a GMC horn button. So while this was in the paint shop, someone stole it, what he said. And I remember it had one on there. I went back and looked at the video. It had a horn button. So horn's not working. You can hear the relay. But now it's got a horn button. It says GMC. So what I'm finna do now is got the brand new gas tank and brand new sending unit. I'm finna go ahead, put in the new sending unit and get this gas tank ready to go in. Jack up the back of the van. It's at the back, up under the rear. And I know this tank is bad because a long time ago I took the fuel line off and you can just smell the bad gas. So we're gonna drop this tank. While I'm up under there, I'm gonna put on the new rear shocks. They look like they're the original shocks, or there might be some old shocks, but I'm gonna put those on while I'm up under here and drop the tank and put new fuel line and get that over with, and then do the other stuff that needs to be done to it, and it should be ready to go back. So I'm gonna get this thing ready to jack up, get the tank in there, and move on from there. Alright, I got somewhat of bad news. So I got the old gas tank out, and I realized that the sending unit he got with the new gas tank is the wrong sending unit. I don't know if he accidentally put the wrong one in the box because he's got some cars he's building, but this is way too small. And the ring, the correct ring to the new gas tank and O-ring is correct, but the sending unit is wrong. This sending unit here, it has 4 ports: a return, your in, I think for your canister. You got your, when you're putting gas in the filler neck, I guess this also like leftover gas, like if it runs over, puts it in the tank. And you got return, in, and canister. This one, and then this is your filler. And this one, see, got the ground wire that grounds to the frame, and then your sending unit for your gas gauge sender plugs there. So I'm gonna take it off. I already know it's gonna be bad because this new tank actually has a drain screw on it, and I remember a while back I took that drain screw out and it was a bunch of bad gas that came out of there. So I already pretty much know that this sending unit is going to be toast. But we'll pull it out of there anyway, and I'm going to get with him and see, does he have one for it? Or did he accidentally put the wrong one in the box? Or do we need to order one? Hopefully he's got the right one. That way I can go ahead and put the tank back in the van and get this part of the project over with. So let me get a hammer. Let's open that up. I already know it's going to let out a funky smell throughout my whole garage. So I'm going to open it up real quick. If the center's bad, like I know it's going to be, I'm going to hurry up and stick it back outside. That raw gas, old gas smell it never goes away. It takes forever. Well, all the sockets missing, but yeah, that's froze. But the sock that goes at the end of it is down in the tank. So I wouldn't recommend using this. I don't have a sock we can rig on there. I mean, we can clean this float up. Look at the rust. It might have rusted a little. It's like a little needle on the other end of the float arm. It might have rusted that off and it won't even read. I don't feel anything. I've never really had luck with used sending units that looks like this. But the whole inside of that tank is full of bad gas. So I'm gonna wait to hear back from him, see if he got the right one. If not, we're gonna have to order the right sending unit. I'd rather put a new one because I don't want to be putting this tank in and fill it up with gas and then the gas end stop working. A couple weeks down the road, then I got to pull it back out. So I'm going to move on and go ahead and put the rear shocks on while it's in there and see about this sending unit. But at least the gas tank's the right one anyway. So I got to digging around these boxes he had, and right inside of this box found the original horn button. I don't know if it fell off and the guy who was painting the van threw it in this box, or he took it off so nobody wouldn't steal it. It is missing one little tab, but I'm gonna put it back on there. I think it'll stay. And he had all these lights here. I put some of these are the old rear marker lights. This is the one that was on the driver's side that heat got to it when it was near that fire. And he bought these lights, but these are for a later model G20 or G35 maybe. And here's the power steering pump he bought. It's not the whole pump, it's actually the pump itself without the housing where you put the power steering fluid. So when I get that old pump off, I'll just break it down and put the new pump inside the housing. It's barely see it down there. It's way at the bottom, so we'll have to take the shroud off, get down in there and get the pump off. Hopefully that's what's leaking. I think that's what it is. But the guy was smart enough when he painted it. He taped this off. This tells everything about the van. The VIN number, wheelbase, you can see what it came with. Fixed rear door glass, which I swapped that out. The fixed rear door glass. I put the glass that flips on the back barn doors. All weather air conditioning. Automatic speed control, automatic transmission, comfort tilt steering wheel, rally wheels, chrome front and rear bezel, solid paint. So this van was a solid paint. Somebody painted it with that design that it had. J7A-15A TVLS highway bias splice. Oh, those are tires. XMM Mystic Cruise VIN, CUS Cusp VIN, tinted glass, advanced price sheet, front stabilizer bar, 5.7 liter 350 standard emission system, power steering, chrome grille, standard body, gauges, voltmeter, oil pressure, 7.8-15.8. That must be the spare tire, highway bias splice tire. 26 deep blue solid. So this van was originally a deep blue solid color van, and what happened was sorry about that. What happened was somebody painted it and put that designs down each side, so that was pretty cool. So now we know that it's basically, it might, well, it's deep blue. This might be close to the factory paint that's on it now, so that's cool. This is back to this factory color if the paint was mixed right. But anyway, I'm going to shut it down for now. We'll get that power steering pump off and get it broke down while we're waiting on the gas tank sending unit. And then I got to work on this door seal. It was in the box. I actually ordered it. I think this is the, I don't know which one it is. It's supposed to be a brand new door seal for the sliding door. So I gotta figure that out. But I tried to clean some of that paint off of the Boogie van tire cover. Got some of it off where you can see the B. So anyway, I'm gonna shut it down for now and we'll get back to it. Alright, here it is out in the sunlight. I got all the blue paint off of the rims, and those turbine wheels, after cleaning them up a little bit, they don't look too bad. Look too bad at all. Plus I washed the van too, so looks pretty good. It's got some spots in it that needs to be worked, but that's something he can deal with. But yeah, those wheels make some things look real good anyway, and that really made it give that 70s style look, kind of 18 van. Like I said, I gave it a little bath, and it do need some spots kind of worked out on it, but like I say, a good wet sand and buff, I think it'll be alright. So now I got to get it back in and do the power steering pump, and I got some, he brought some tail light lenses for it too. So I got to get those on because these are cracked, and this one's broken, so water is getting in behind there. So like I say, old van don't look too bad now. Got a nice set of wheels on it finally. This is what I wanted to do to it when I had it, but I got into messing with other cars and projects and decided to pass the torch on to somebody else. So anyway, I'm gonna get it back inside. Just wanted to show y'all how it looked with the wheels on it and everything all cleaned up. We'll get it back in, do some more work on it, and it'll be ready to go home. Alright, so got the wheels cleaned up, got all that blue paint off the raised white letters, and I cleaned up the turbines a little bit, and old van don't look too bad. Like I said, the paint job, it can use some wet sanding and buffing. I think the guy never got to that spot that's on the driver's side. Well, it's actually on the passenger side door, and it's got a few little paint chips here and there, but I mean, for what it is and where it came from, I think it'll be alright. So kind of gave it a little bath while I was out here, and like I said, I found some spots that needs to be touched up. On this door here, I don't know what happened. Something scuffed against it. I don't know if it was done in the shop, or maybe my buddy did it, rubbed something across it, but it might can buff out.
but where it came from and where it was, it looks way better. So it's just gonna be a daily driver. There's nothing to show. So it's got some spots that needs to be gone over, like I said, but hey, it was kind of like a budget paint job, and wish it could be a little better, but it is what it is. So anyway, I'm going to get this thing back inside and get the taillight covers. Got some new taillight lenses for it. This one's cracked, and this one over here is faded and cracked at the top, so water's getting down in there. So he just brought some that he had bought. I kind of cleaned them up a little bit. I got the gaskets. They're in real good shape, so I'm gonna get those on there, and then I'm gonna get to the power steering pump and be getting this. Oh, I gotta put the gas tank in once the sending unit comes. And after that, we were ready to send this old girl back to the second owner. So we'll holler at y'all later. Alright, so here's the power steering pump. It's all the way at the bottom of the engine, and it sits on its own bracket. So what I'm going to do is just take the whole pump bracket and all off and break it down. You can get to it from the bottom without pulling the shroud because it's right here. And the belt, well, the belt is loose. I know I put a water pump on this thing the last time I worked on it when I had it, and I don't know how the belt got loose. I mean, I guess I didn't tighten the bracket, but there's one bolt on where there's a stud to come off the exhaust manifold with a nut on it. That's one end of the bracket, and then over here, I don't know if you can see, right between here, there's two bolts, and I think that's all that holds the power steering pump on. But you can see where it's been leaking. Looks like it's leaking right around the housing. There's a big O-ring that goes around the pump, so it looks like that's what's leaking. The hoses don't appear to be leaking. I mean, it's wet right here, but I believe it's where the fluid is blowing back and wetting up the hoses right here on the metal tube part. The rest of the hoses look dry. Your return and then your pressure. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this pump off of here and get it up on the bench and get the pulley off of it, and let's break it down and put the new pump that's got the O-ring already on it. Put the new pump on there and get it back on there, tighten it up, and I think that should take care of our power steering leak. And this time I'm gonna make sure this belt is tight, because I can notice when I turn the wheel really hard, you can hear the belt squealing, but that's nothing to do with it leaking. So it definitely needs power steering pump overhauled or replaced, but we'll see what we can do with it once I get it off. Alright, so we got the power steering pump off of the engine, and it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just got these two bolts that go through the bracket to the block, and then here there is a stud that comes off the manifold with a nut. Undo the power steering line. This is the return line, and And you got the metal line. I got a cap in it because it leaked power steering fluid out. But pull the pump off. Now the way this pump is set up, you could pull the pump off with it in the van, because I think only the vans is set up like this. There's a bolt that goes all the way through. I don't know if you can see it. Try and get the light on. That bolt right at the bottom of the pulley down there, that bolt goes all the way through, and this is the nut on the back side. If you take this nut off, that bolt slides through, and you take the adjustment nut off, which that's a stud that's made onto the pump. You can get this pump out of here, but you got to get the pulley off in order to do that. So in order to get that bolt out, you got to have a special, get the pulley off, you got to have this special tool that clamps onto this pulley ridge right here. And then there's a nut, well, not a nut, there's a shaft, like a threaded shaft or threaded bolt that goes in with a lock nut with a big washer. And as you turn in on that nut, it pulls this pulley off of here. And then you can get that bolt out. Without that, you can't get the pump off the bracket. So I would recommend, if you're working on one of these vans, just to go ahead and pull this pump off, and then get it to where you can set it somewhere and work on it. But you gotta have that puller, which I'll show you to get this off. So I already dumped the fluid out. What I'm gonna do is get my table cleaned off, get y'all set up, and we'll get this pulley off, get the pump off the bracket, and go ahead and tear down the pump and replace the power steering pump. Alright, so I got my power steering pump pulley puller, and I haven't used this thing, I haven't used it in some years. So you use this to pull these pulleys off. They're usually on the GM style power steering pumps. I think Jeep had the same kind of power steering pump, GM style pump. And in order to get this off, because usually when you buy a whole pump assembly, it doesn't come with the pulley on it. You have to pull it off. So it's got all these pieces. If you've never seen one, it's got these little half moon pieces here, and they clamp onto the pulley where those ridges is. And then you got the actual pusher threaded, I guess we want to call it a pusher threaded bolt. As this bolt turns in, it's pushing against the shaft, and you got put the little sleeve over the two halves, and then the nut that this bolt goes through has got a shoulder on it, so it catches the two half shafts. So what you do is, let me move this out of the way. Take a wrench, which is the wrong side of the wrench. Take the wrench, snug it down. This sleeve has got to stay on there. Didn't exactly catch it. Hold on a minute. It's got two notches in there that grabs this. Just got to figure out which one it is. So it's this side. And you turn the bolt. That sleeve will sometimes drop, And you don't want to let this thing spin because it'll spit power steering fluid everywhere if you don't have it all the way drained. Should be coming off of there. It's shaking the table so bad it's got my autofocus going off here. As you tighten that bolt and you holding the wrench, it's pushing this against the shaft, and it should be pushing that off of there. As far as I can remember now. I better check that because it should start seeing it. Yeah. You can see how the shaft is starting to go in, you know, ease out of the pulley. So as you turn it in, this bolt is pushing the shaft, and with these clamps on there, it's pulling. So we'll snug it back down. Impact. I really don't know why you really need that sleeve, because I mean it should stay together. And I would suggest you use, man, that thing vibrates hard. I would suggest you use some safety goggles in case you get power steering fluid spitting out. You don't want it to get in your face. You see the puller pulls it off. There's the pulley. Now to put it back on, I'll show you. And then you can, I think the bottom threads on here is kind of wore out, so this comes off and fits in the case. So now we got all that off there. Now we can get this bracket off. Which is some 14. Is that 14? I think so. Let's see. Get that bracket off. And then we can try and get more light in here. Get this bracket off, and then we can get the inside of that pump tore down. Get some more light here. Is that better? More light. So let me get the correct socket. Should be 14 millimeter. Then hold it with a 14 on the back. I'll tell you what, we'll do it like this. Messy job too. Now we should be able to just spin that bolt right out of there. So it looks like it's a stud at the front and the back. Take the bracket off. Put everything aside. Looks like we're gonna have to disassemble this all the way. Make sure I put the bolt back in there where it's supposed to go. That's one half of the bracket. That's the other half of the bracket. And then we got this here that needs to come off. This is how you adjust the belt. You get a crescent wrench or something on this tab and you pull back on the pump. That's how you tighten the belt up. If you can get in there. So we'll take this off. Yes sir, yes sir. Got that off of there. Now we got to go to the back of the pump and take these nuts right here loose. That's on these stud nuts. They got to come off, and they look like 17s. Yep. This takes the pump out of the housing. This where it's gonna get messy because there's probably some leftover power steering fluid in there. Well, I guess I need to get a rag because it's gonna come out everywhere. This should turn. I had to put it in the vise. Ooh, she's been in there a good while. Oh, we got one more thing. I forgot. No wonder it won't come out. It's been a while. We gotta take this fitting out. Where the line goes, that fitting's gotta come out. I forgot all about it. $13.16? $15.16. Nope. 1 inch. Take that out. Some parts that'll come out of there. Should come out of there now. That sucker still won't come out. I don't like building these. I would just put a whole pump on it, but this is what he bought. So what I'm gonna do, I guess, put these studs stud bolts. Put these back in and then take my little mallet. Should drive it out of there. I want to damage them threads. Yeah, it's gonna damage the threads on there. Have to straighten that one out. I have to put a nut on it. Usually they come right out of there easy. I think I damaged this one. I can straighten the threads out though, that ain't nothing. I might have to put it in the vise and get it to come out of there. Get a long rod or something. Coming. We have to go back and forth with it. Let me get another nut to put on there. There it goes. Coming out of there though. It's almost out. Now that's jammed in there. This is a messy job here. There it is. There's the pump. There's a magnet in here to collect the metal shavings. But that's the housing there. And then here's the pump. It's got some O-rings that go around where the screws go in. That's the pump. And that's that O-ring. These O-rings right here usually get old and they leak power steering fluid around in the housing. This right here is just a spring that goes in there, that goes in there. So if you ever take this fitting off, that will fall out of there. Well, you get how it goes. That holds the housing together too. So the pump is out. So I'm gonna get this all cleaned up. I'm gonna put this over in the parts washer, clean it up real good and all the brackets, and then get the new pump and we'll reassemble it and get it back on the van. So let me get all this power steering fluid cleaned up, because it's probably transmission fluid. A lot of a lot of these older pumps, you can use automatic transmission fluid instead of power steering fluid. Now that's power steering fluid. A lot of the older cars like Fords, they use Type F transmission fluid in their power steering pumps, and it works. And that's what a lot of people did back in the day until they started using actual power steering fluid. Because I think the power steering fluid back then was a lot higher than transmission fluid, so they just dumped transmission fluid in it. But to each its own. So I'm gonna get cleaned up. We'll get this thing back together, get it back on the van. So we're back. So I got the housing all cleaned up. I got the magnet put back in there. So that's clean. I got the brackets clean. This is the new pump. It comes with this fitting already in the back of it. That's where your pressure line goes. So we'll have to pull that off so we can get it in the housing. That's a cool little piece to keep right here. I usually keep all these little caps and stuff because you can use them to block off things that might leak when you pull them apart. We got this little plug here. These little caps, they come in handy. Oh, it's got a magnet already on there, look. Actually, the magnet goes on that part of the pump. So we'll use the new magnet. Put that right there, save for something. Make sure you pull all these little caps. See how it's got all these little red caps? Pull all these out. And we'll put them in our little cap container. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to put a light coat of grease around this O-ring here. First, let me get this out before I forget, and we'll try to put it together and it won't go. So, pull that out. There's a spring and a piston in there. It's staying in there, that's good. So this is the new fitting that's in the back of the pump. The new pump. So that worked out good because I really don't want to reuse that old O-ring on the other one. So we'll get a light coat of grease. Probably just put the grease on the housing. That just helps it slide in there and it won't roll that O-ring, mess it up. You ain't got to get a lot of it on there, just enough. Alright. So the pump slides in the housing. I'm going to flip it over. Make sure it lines up in the back. See how I do. Drops right in there. Oh shoot. Spring and the piston came out. I figured it would. It just goes back in there like that. Well, make sure it's lined up good before you put the studs in there. That's about right. Yeah, looks about right. This has got a screw in there. I'm just gonna snug that down. And it's almost like it needs to turn just a tad. This is when I kind of bingled the threads a little bit. They ain't gotta be Superman tight, cause you'll strip it out or warp that housing, and then you're gonna have a leak. But you want this one tight because whenever you take your line off, this whole thing will turn. So snug on that. Turns, we can slide this off because we got to put the pulley back on. So first, what needs to go on is the bracket, which needs to go on there. I really don't like the way it sits. It's kind of like cocked a little bit in the housing, but that's how it goes. So we put our adjuster bracket back on here. And my camera battery is getting weak. Let me swap out camera batteries right quick and we'll continue. Alright, fresh new battery in the camera. Alright, so we got to put the bracket on this bracket here. Now it goes like so. That's how you adjust it there. It swivels. That goes on like that. And there's a nut and a washer. Something's not. Oh, that bolt goes through the front. Then back here, I thought it was one more. One more nut to go on there. What did I do with it? Was that just open? Wasn't nothing back there? I believe so. I thought it was another nut on there. I had one I had found. Oh, it's stuck in the socket. That's where it is. I'm like, I know it was another nut that goes on there. I kind of messed this nut up here, smushed it. See, can I find another one? It's one of those locking nuts. It's supposed to just be right there. That's a fine thread. Would that work? Nope, that's the wrong thread. Find the right one for it. I guess I just have to use one of those locking nuts because that's all I got. And I see. Something always bite you in the butt when you're working on this stuff. Standard. Huh. Dig it in the boat bin. I don't want to tighten it all the way because I got to adjust the belt. Alright, so I need to stick something there so when I tighten this down, that won't be out of line. Just because I want to do it that way. Because the bolts goes through there actually go through the block. I just want everything to be still lined up. That way the still kind of off a little bit. Yep, it's off just a hair. Just a smidget. There we go. I want everything to go back on like it's supposed to. I think I tightened up the wrong one. Oh, it's the one on the front. That one's got to be loose. That one's got to be loose. And this one's got to be loose. That way the pump will swivel when I get ready to put the belt on. Alright, so now we need to put the pulley back on, and that's going to take the special tool again, and this time it's actually the tool that presses it on there. Now you don't want to hammer this pulley on there because you'll mess up the flange and you'll never get it on there. You have to go find another pulley, and that'll be a junkyard item. So what we got is this thing here. It's a kind of like a roller bearing that's made inside of a bushing. You gotta have that. You gotta have a washer, because what's gonna happen, you thread this inside of the shaft, and as you turn down on this nut, it pushes the pulley back on there. This is the part I hate. When it's a brand new pump, it goes on, the bolt goes in there easy. But when you got an old rusty pump, you can't get the bolt to thread down in there, and you have to clean those threads out in the shaft. But as this washer spins, it's spinning that bearing at the same time. So you want to make sure you got that in there good to catch some threads. And every now and then you can lift this up and make sure that oh snap! Woo, that almost burnt my hand. You gotta be careful. I have some good gloves on. It burnt through that. Sliced through my finger a little bit. Wow, that sucker was spinning 100 miles an hour. Luckily I had these gloves on. You want to make sure that it's going to put it on there flush. You could grab hold to this flange of the pulley with some pliers. Man, this dang pulley is razor sharp. Don't have to grab that sucker. It's coming through. You don't want to push it down too far because it'll hit this bolt. Then you got to back it back off. Yeah, it did get me a little bit. I feel a sting. This is actually just a cut off bolt that I made to go down inside of there. The tool actually has one that comes with it, but I think I stripped it. So I just took a bolt and cut the head off of it. Actually, the tool comes with one that's a lot shorter, and it don't catch a lot of threads down inside the shaft. So that's why what's up with my camera there? I'm gonna act right today. Vibration. Yep, let me get that rag back. There we go. That's enough right there. As long as this, I got down there a little bit, not flush, but that's good enough. So now we need to get this stud out. You could double nut it and run it out. We'll just take some pliers. See, it works good when you got a brand new shaft. Threads, that's how deep they went in there in the shaft. So now the pump is back together. We got the cap. So I just go put it back on. Go put it back on the van. Put the belt on, tighten the belt up. I'm gonna tighten the other belts up. We'll fill it up with some power steering fluid. And should be good to go. So power steering pump is hopefully rebuilt and no more leaks. So I'm gonna get this glove off, get me a band-aid, and get back at it. So the power steering pump is quiet and there's no leaks. I've been running it and checking it. So far, so good. All right, so we got the power steering leak fixed. I didn't see anything wrong with none of the hoses, and the gearbox is not leaking. So it's just that leaky old power steering pump. That's what the problem was. So next we'll be moving on to putting that door seal on, trying to figure out what the deal is with that. I got to put the rear gas tank in when the new sending unit comes, and new lines, new fuel filter, and then I think, oh, we got to get, there's some little push-in clips that holds the emblems. He was going to go to the paint and body store. They have a whole bunch of trim clips and stuff like that for vehicles. See if we can get those. They pop in these holes and then you push the emblems into them to hold them on. The older emblems had those little wing nuts, and the studs on the older emblems were threaded. Well, the newer ones he got, they have the little push-in clips that goes in these holes. So hopefully, if he can find them, we will put those on. And then if not, what I've thought about doing is taking one of those dies that you can thread a bolt or thread a screw, and see, can we put some threads on these studs, and then maybe we can put some of those plastic wing nuts on it, and then when we put it through there, it looks like that, and you can reach in behind the battery and tighten them up. So if we can't get those push-in things, I'll just I'll try and thread those little studs. Maybe we can put some kind of nuts on the backside to hold it. but I believe he can find them. But this came off of, this came out the same year, almost same year model, but it's like say, the other ones are made different where they go into the fenders. But that's gonna look real good once we get those on there. And this old girl will be ready for the road again. And it came a long way from when I got it. And before that, it set up all those years behind that shop. So I am glad to see it back on the road, and somebody's going to take it and enjoy it. So anyway, I am going to wait on some parts, and we'll get back at it.